Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike.
And Beth.
And Beth, you are fresh off another spectacular women's conference and retreat
Yes.
that you wrote and you led. And how was that? That was yesterday.
It was great. So we've been doing our women's retreats now. I don't know if this is the 4th or 5th year. I tried to go back through. We used to do pre-COVID a go-away retreat, and we've done 1 or 2 of those, but I think it's harder for people to get away. So we decided we would do we call it a half day. And I think some men, like our friend, we'll call him Ross, was stunned. He was like, wait a minute, y'all were there from 9 to 2? And I'm like, but it was a whole thing. You get food and stuff. But so it's like a half day, and we follow sort of the same, I guess, structure. But we usually do it in January because we usually have sort of like a theme for the year for our women's ministry. And I mean, everything doesn't have to tie to the theme. Like if we go to a pool party, it doesn't have to relate to it or something like that. But we kind of use that theme. And last year we did Restoring Your Story, and it was based on the women in the book of Ruth. And so we kind of use the same thing throughout, like our ladies' tea and stuff. And this year it was Made to Flourish. And it's about, basically, I like to describe it as, it's based on plants. That was the inspiration. So I looked around and thought about on our sun porch how I have all these different plants, and I used to get plants, and what I would do is I would go to Target or wherever, and I'd be like, oh, that's a cute plant. And I would buy it, and I would come and I would stick it in the living room where it was dark, and it would die. And I would be like, why is this plant dying? And, they have these little things that stick in the plants that tell you how to take care of them. And I would just throw those away because I was like, well, they're not adding to the vibe of how the plant looks.
That's kind of how you treated raising our kids, too.
Exactly. Yeah, just like whatever.
And they do come with instructions on how to raise kids, and you just throw those away.
I was just like, forget that. Throw that out the window.
Yeah.
But when we glassed in our back porch during COVID, I was really intentional. And so I talked to my mom because she knows a lot about plants. And I would ask her, what plants can thrive with a lot of sunlight? What plants can be okay if I can only water them once a week, and can't water them every day like some folks. And you've talked about it before. You've put pictures up of how it looks like a jungle. And when I started being intentional about the plants, the environment that I put, putting the right plants in the right environment where they will thrive, that changed things. And so it just made me start thinking about us as in our spiritual life, and I looked around. So we had 3 sessions. We basically showed up and was Made to Flourish. And it's the exact opposite of pretty much, I think, everything out there right now in Christian literature, which is about if you just do these 5 things, you'll be a better Christian tomorrow. It's not about working harder to change who you are, anything like that. That was not the theme at all. Not just based on the plants, but I mean, I know you do this sometimes in your preaching. You take things you're kind of learning in your own life. And, we talked about being 50 and stuff last year, sort of this midlife. And I'm I'm tired of trying to do the 5-step plan that worked for somebody else and doesn't work for me anymore, And so with this one, our first one was we had breakfast and everything. We did an icebreaker that was a lot of fun, your plant personality. And I'd done Mad Libs last year and people liked that. So we did old school stuff from our younger days. We did a Mad Libs. And then the first session was living.
All right, before you keep going.
Yes.
Remember, this is going out into the podcast universe.
Oh.
So do you want to share all of your intellectual property?
Oh, good point.
Because there's probably going to be somebody that's going to be writing all this down.
Oh, and they're going to be I'm going to go do this with the women where I am.
Yes, that's why.
Yes. And I do not want women to grow unless I can get the royalties from it.
Well, and that's true. I mean, and that's why with my comedy the other week, people were like, because they videoed the whole 5-minute clip. And the whole 5-minute clip is fine. It's great. I sent it to people who I knew would never come.
Right.
I sent it to my parents, your parents, Mike Willard and Sheila, because they're out of state.
Yeah.
So I sent it to some folks. I was like, here's my routine. But I only put a minute up on social media because I want people to if I come to their church or if they come to one of my shows and I do my set. I want them to be surprised. And so that's all I'm saying is
no, you're right.
If you share in depth.
Yeah.
This is what I did.
Yeah.
You know, Doug told me a crazy story this week. Our friend Doug has a new game. He's an award-winning game designer and designed a game several years ago called Garden Dice. It's not just a dice game. It's an actual board game. And there's dice involved, but it's legit. And he won some awards for it. And he has created a new game, which has been kickstarted. It should be coming out here in the next couple of months, actually. I think he wants it out maybe by summer, called Cabriole. He told me, now, you know, as you can't produce a board game independently, unless you go through like a company in China or Taiwan or something.
Because you have to get all the pieces made.
Yeah,
and stuff.
it's just
you can't sit with your own 3D printer there.
It's the nature of the beast. You got to outsource to another country. You know, like it's like everything else. So anyway, so Doug had a board game company or a company, I guess they do whatever, out in China or wherever, somewhere over in Asia, produce his game. They're supposed to be producing a game. He said he got an email from someone that was asking for rule clarification. Somebody's already got a copy of his game. So it's like,
somebody got it. That's crazy.
And they, like, you know, so it's like already out on the underground market of board games.
Yeah.
Like, so Doug's like, somebody messaged me. They're like, I was playing your game. How does this work? Doug's like, how are you playing my game? Like, Doug thought he had the only 4 physical copies
that are
ever
there
made outside of the shipment. But obviously, you don't know what these companies are doing. You know what I mean? I'm sure they make some extras and then they sell them themselves and keep the profit 100%. And I guess that's how stuff probably shows up on Temu.
I guess it is.
You know, like
it gets out early somehow. And then by the time you stop them, by the time you find out, you get a lawyer, you send the cease and desist, they eventually stop. But then how much money have they already made by then? And a lot of the damage is done.
Yeah. So, so I think that's a pretty good racket, really.
It is.
If you're a factory, you're already making all this stuff. Just make another dozen, make another 100. Nobody's going to know.
In another country that's not going to be overseeing it and regulating it like you would be here.
No.
Yeah.
And if they're really smart, which I imagine they are, they probably work that into the price when they give you the price. So you're actually paying for them to make these extra copies that you don't know that they're making.
These bootleg copies or something.
And they're turning around selling them to people locally there in China or Taiwan or wherever it is, at the Philippines, like where it is that you outsource this stuff to.
That's nuts.
It's kind of crazy, but... So I say all that to say, with Doug's story fresh on my mind.
Well, and somebody is probably out there using AI to data mine podcast and find brilliant women that have done really cool, well-received women's retreats, and then they're going to take it. Well, so so what I will say is...
So anyway, I just didn't want you to give out all your intellectual property, and we do have a lot of listeners globally. And you don't know who's listening that might mine this information. And then you go to, which we'll get into this in just a minute, because I think that this women's retreat has spurred a new book.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
And so...
That's true. Yeah.
You know, you're going to go to Amazon to publish this new book. Based around this.
Yeah. And somebody else
Amazon's going to be like, oh, there's already something out there.
This person already did it.
I'm just saying, maybe I'm being too hypersensitive.
No, you probably aren't.
But go ahead, walk us through the 30,000-foot plot over there.
So basically then, all that you do, you have your get to know each other. And every year, this is the same. We just have 3 sessions. And I think this would also a lot vary based on, the person that's doing it. But we have 3 different sessions, and I usually give a little talk, or we'll ask someone else to do a little talk. And then we have a lot of small group discussions and some type of craft and thing. But the thing I love about these, but what I will say about this, as far as the book or as far as anything, basically it's not about like trying harder or becoming somebody you're not. This theme is about, who God created you to be and kind of growing into who God created you to be. That's what the retreat is about. That's what the book will be about. But what is so amazing about these retreats, having done women's ministry now for many, many, many years, early on when I would have an idea, and part of this too is about finding the right people around you. So I don't want anybody to feel criticized when I say this, because sometimes you do what you have to do. But if I had an idea for something like this and wrote it, I would write it and then feel like I had to do all of it. And that's the one thing I will say. I guess now I've written like 6 retreats. So when I do these, we don't buy them. And the ideas come in different ways. Sometimes all of our women are together and we'll do like a meeting at the end of the previous year. And we'll kind of talk about, what are you guys struggling with or what's happening? And like one year we did something about hope because of that. Other times we will be there and I'll kind of just have an idea and I loosely float the idea. Like this is what I think the sessions are going to be. This is what I think the theme's going to be. And I'll float it to my ladies. And, back in the the old days, I used to feel like I had to do it all. Like I had to try to somehow figure out how to decorate. So you can imagine it looked terrible because I don't have that skill. Or I might feel like I'd written the retreat, had to run it, had to worry about the food, had to register everybody, because that's the other piece. When we do these, because we do crafts and activities and we have breakfast and lunch, we have to pre-register people. Like we have to know how many people we think will be there. So we have enough of everything. And I used to feel like I had to do that. And with this group of women that I'm with now, I mean, they're amazing. It's like, it's not always the exact same women, but I'd say there's a core of about 6 women. And then we always put it out there. If anybody else wants to help, we bring them in. But, I have different women that I rely on for different things. Like there's one lady there's actually 2 ladies I've relied on that I feel like administratively are really strong. So they'll help us with registration and stuff. 2 of my ladies always take responsibility for the food. So they're always organizing, making sure that doesn't mean they're making all the food or buying all the food, but I'm just like, okay, you 2 go forth and coordinate.
Now hold
the
up.
food.
I just thought about this.
Yeah.
You're telling everybody how to do a retreat. Maybe
you
you need to
do that
either. Like this
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
maybe we should just be like, I did a women's retreat.
I will sell all the information. Send me $10 and join my private Facebook group.
How to how to structure a women's retreat.
Yeah.
And then the content.
Yeah. But what I will say, but then I have other people that decorate. And I guess the point I want to make with this is it truly is like, I used to look at that whole thing where they have the imagery or the metaphor of us being like the body of Christ, and you get it conceptually. But I think with this women's ministry, this is the first time that I feel like I am literally living that. And what I mean is, I come up with an idea you know what? And I will say this, I'm going to brag on my people again. Unless you find a group of women that are willing to kind of let go of ego and truly step into their strengths and not be jealous and stuff like that, somebody can't recreate it. And that's part of the secret sauce that I don't know how to tell somebody how to find it. But like, that's been the cool thing with our women.
The secret sauce is you have a church and leadership that's strong enough to get people in the entire church on the same page.
Yes.
We all have different gifts.
Right.
We all have different talents. This may not be your talent. Let's figure out what your talent is. Or the people that are absolute control freaks. All right, go control somewhere else. You're not gonna be a control freak in this church, in this ministry. This is all hands on deck. We're all ministers. We're all gonna be equal body parts. You just need to learn your body part. And that's what it's taken us 12 and a half years
to get it right. We figured it out early, but to perfect it,
to refine constantly.
Yes. I wouldn't say perfect it. You're right. Your refining is a better word because we're never
and it's
perfect.
Not that. And the word refine, when you look it up like scripturally, the word refine is used as far as like using when they talk about like silver being refined in the scriptures. It's talking about taking out impurities. It's not that these people are impure.
Right.
It's that they have personalities that currently do not lend them to want to be subservient or want to practice servanthood through leadership through servanthood.
Right.
You know, they want to be I've got to call the shots. I have to be the one in charge. And a lot of times it's not even, I don't even think it's ego as much. Sometimes it is ego, but I think most of the time it's fear of letting go.
I think it's fear of letting go, and they truly
not having control.
And sometimes they just truly want to have excellence, and they feel like they can't trust other people to have
that's where
that.
the control is.
Yes,
if
exactly.
You have control because you have trust issues.
Yeah.
If I've never met anyone who was controlling that was also trusting. They don't go hand in hand. Like the least you trust people, the more control you want over people. And it's like that spiritually too. Like the least you trust God, the more you feel like I need to be God.
Yeah.
I need to have control of my life because I don't trust God to have control of my life.
But the thing that's been cool about this is it has changed me too, you know, in that, because you let go of a little control and you trust people and then it works out. Or even if something doesn't go right, you figure it out, you know, like you just flex a little bit. And I think that's the thing with this. Like, I know some people might be shocked about this because, you know, I had written this and I had a vision of what I wanted it to look like. And then I told my ladies, like, and not just this year, like last year with Restoring Your Story, you know, the other years. And part of it, people, if they're really interested, you can go to my Facebook and find our ladies' retreats and you can see how we decorated. But like, I just was like, this is my vision. This is the theme. These are the points. And then these women go and make it happen, you know? And that's when I walked in Sunday morning, so Saturday we had a food giveaway, like we'd done the Hope Center, we'd done these harvest boxes in Thanksgiving. So we were doing, they weren't harvest boxes because it's not harvest, but similar boxes Saturday. So Saturday, I know I told you, I was like, my Saturday is going to be insane. You know, I've just got a lot going on. I've got a final prep for the women's retreat. I've got to do this. So the women were meeting Saturday night to decorate for the women's retreat on Sunday. I didn't get a picture of it. I didn't look at a picture of it. I hadn't seen it. I walked in Sunday and it was like, whoa, like these little fairies that came in and like decorated, and it exceeded my expectations. I think that's the other piece. Like I might have a vision of like, I want it to look like this. And I feel like every time these women are able to come in and they're able to take my idea and make it even better, if that makes sense. You know, it's one thing if somebody can just carry out your instructions.
And see, to somebody like you and I'm a visionary, you're a visionary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can conceptualize what I want it to be, but the actual making it happen sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
And because that's not in our DNA, we feel like, at least I'm speaking for me, I don't want to say you, I feel like that's in no one's DNA.
Right.
So if I ask someone to decorate, I feel like that's a big burden on them.
Yes, I do too.
But to them, that's what makes them come alive, is they aren't wired to conceptualize as far as like a big vision.
Yeah.
But if you share with them, this is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what makes them come alive.
Yeah.
Because then they can use their imagination, their hands, their artistry, and put it together. I learned this a million years ago. I'm going to bring up a name. I just thought about her. I hadn't thought about her in forever. A lady that you and I both love, Sandy Simpson.
Oh,
remember
yeah,
Sandy?
I do remember Sandy.
She worked with us at various United Methodist events.
Those kids
but a lot in
things too. Spiritus, yeah, that's
she
what it
worked
was.
with us at Spiritus.
Yeah.
And I remember she was the head of like just decorating, you know, the stage, and we would do these big elaborate dramas and all this kind of stuff. And I remember my mentor, Jim Martin, told me one time, we were down there at Spiritus and Jim was in charge of whatever that weekend. And I remember we walked in, Sandy had like created this incredible stage. And I remember he told me, he said, you always need to have a Sandy Simpson in your life.
Yeah.
He was like, somebody that you can walk in and be like, I want the moon.
Right.
And somehow
they deliver it.
Can lasso that moon and pull it out of the sky. And it's sitting right there.
Yes.
And he was like, she's amazing. Like, he's like, I can't do what she does. I can tell her this is what I'm envisioning. And then she takes it that next extra mile. And I've always remembered that. And I haven't always done it, but I've always remembered it. And I think that's something that you and I do really well now, because we've had to. We've realized, I know I was accused more than once early on in ministry, especially post 2003 when I started becoming a lead pastor, that I was a bit of a micromanager.
Yes.
And I did. I micromanaged everything.
Right.
Every aspect of the church, I micromanaged.
Right.
But it came down to trust.
Yeah.
I didn't trust anybody with my vision.
Right.
And I knew if I was involved, it would be done the way I wanted it.
Right.
And I've slowly over time, I mean, it took, now at this point, 25 years.
Right.
From that point to now, to let go and trust people and make sure. It's like Jim Collins and his amazing book, Good to Great.
Mm-hmm.
An organization, whether it's a church or a business or whatever, does not go from good to great until you get the right people on the right seats on the right bus.
Right.
And I mean, that's the analogy he uses, is that we're all riding a school bus and it's about getting the right people in the right seats. And that's what I think we've had to learn. And we've done, I think that's why Project Re3 and Re3 Church and the Re3 Hope Center is so effective right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the right people in the right seats.
Places. Yeah.
And it's not because we're brilliant. It's because we screwed up a lot.
Yeah.
Especially me. I mean, I'll say it.
And sometimes you trust somebody too, and it's not even your fault and their fault, but you're letting them try something and it doesn't work out for them. And so I wouldn't say it fails, but they move on to something else and somebody else slides in, but it helps them hopefully grow and know, oh, well, this isn't my spot. I'm going to go over here.
Yeah.
But I will say, Mike, your thing that you just said that's so interesting, like Jim was saying that, I think that's what I'm trying to articulate, not doing a good job of, is you have this vision, especially with something like this. I don't know how many hours I put into writing this, but it was a lot, because you have your initial idea, you this plant theme, because I know you've talked about how you do things. And then it's okay, what am I trying to get people to understand? And then when I start to break it down, it seems like it'd be easy. If you go participate in it, I think people would have been like, well, this is common sense. If they went to yesterday, they'd be like, well, this at your core. But I feel like that's almost every sermon you preach. It's not like we're delivering new information to people. It's things that if we really thought about it, it's patterns or things we know, but, you have a revelation in how to apply it to your life or whatever. But you have to then try to figure out, what fits. And if this is a metaphor I'm using, how do I make it fit to this part? And how do I not have this part of session 1 bleed into session 2? But how do session 1, 2, and 3 all fit together? And what helps you? I try to really, and my retreats too, it's not I've been to retreats that look just like 3 sessions of mini worship, music, preaching, prayer, and so, I mean, and not that that's bad, but I like my retreats to be very interactive. And I think that's because I'm an interactive person, So thinking through that and trusting people to help with that. But I say all that to say, so you've put hours and hours and hours of work into this. Plus, like you said, it's your vision. And I think the crazy thing is, if I had said, I want you to go do this and to have my vision, I want it to look like this, like you said, I wouldn't be able to tell Jerry, for example, who oversaw the decorating. When I say I have a vision in my head, I didn't have a picture of what it looks like. I just had an idea, And then if I had tried to tell Jerry exactly what to do, I really don't know how it would have turned out. She would have been able to follow my instructions. But when I gave her my vision and I let her then have her ideas from that, it was better than anything I could have come up with. She just had every detail covered, from little things about water in the scripture, she incorporated that to the flowers and the theme. And so I think that's the thing that's so cool about it too, to what you're saying, like a Sandy Simpson, you're not going and telling them. And I think I've learned this too through watching Maria, because that's one of the things she keeps refining in film school. We've talked about how you look at films and you're like, what? There's really all these jobs you didn't know about. But she started to refine. She wants to take someone else's concept and then build it. So if somebody's like, I want this to be on another planet and then I need a creature that's powered by sunlight, then she goes and tries to build the animatronic. So, you know, she's essentially doing what I guess Jerry did and the team and Shelley and Jerry and I think it was Jeanette and Jen all who decorated. Like they took that and did it. But Jerry worked on it a long time too. That's the other thing. Like you know, this wouldn't have worked if Jerry had just been like, all right, Saturday morning, I'm going out and, you know, frantically texting Beth, like, I can't find anything or tell me exactly what you want. Jerry just like checked in enough to say, hey, I found these. What do you think? And this is what I'm thinking. And I'm like, sounds fabulous. So I walked in as a control. I mean, I can be a control freak, but I walked in Sunday morning. That's the first time I'd seen any of it. You know, I didn't know what we were going to have. And it was, so that to me is like, to your point, that's a really cool thing. And I feel like that's how, to your point too, the church, the Hope Center, all those things kind of work. Because like also, that was the other thing. I went to the food distribution thing and we were partnering with another church in town because they have a great parking lot to give out the food. So a lady came and she was asking me some detailed questions about the Hope Center. And I was like, yeah, you got to ask Richard or Brooke about that, you know, because like to your point, we oversee parts of it. We help with the community relations and getting people on board. But when you get to the detail of like, now, when I sign up to volunteer versus when I, you know, exactly what days and times do you need the most people? I have no idea, you know, like because we have trusted, you know, Brooke, Sharon, Sam, all of them to do that part.
Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time now, I'm doing the least amount of work I've ever done in ministry.
Yeah.
Legit. I'm not even exaggerating. Like,
yeah.
And more ministries are getting done that's ever been done in my life.
Yeah.
Because we have the right people in the right position. I stopped trying to micromanage.
Right.
I trust people. And my job is to be their cheerleader and, you know, help fill in the gap if they need it filled in, help be their reassurance, help offer advice, but let them take it and run with it. And
there's still a place for you as the leader because I guess some people could be like, well, then why do we need you? But like you then have the vision.
I think that too. I mean, I've said it. Like,
I don't mean you
I've
personally.
I've said it a lot in the last few weeks. I'm like, Re3 has gotten to the point that I could walk out and get hit by a bus this afternoon.
And they would still go in.
Nothing at Project Re3 would change. Like, because we have such good leadership. We've got Tim and Laura and Faith running the church.
Yeah.
We've got Sam and Brooke and Sharon running the Hope Center. And so...
You've got Beth starting to run missions. Yeah. Oh, rolling your eyes. I wish I could see his face right now. Anyway.
I mean, you've done a lot for this Roatan trip.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
So I might have to, you'll be the first intern turned employee that's going to have to be, I guess, regulated back to intern.
I was going to say, but unpaid employee, like the government doesn't really, but
it's
anyway.
A title. We like that title.
We won't go back on that. But anyway, as you say.
They don't need me anymore. You know, like I'm not needed at Project Re3
But
anymore.
I get what you're saying to a certain extent. But see, I disagree with part of that because I think I see this in companies I've worked for, companies I work with. People may think that because you actually have people doing all their pieces. But what you do need is if you're going to remain unified, you need a leader that has vision and can see all of it. Because in the end, and I think Brooke and them would say, now, of course, Brooke does, like, let's say, a lot for the church or Sharon, but Brooke and Sharon Sharon is very focused. She's over the clothes. Brooke is very focused. She's over the food at the Hope Center. Faith is very focused on worship music. But like having somebody that can see the vision for everything and kind of pull those pieces together. The other thing I think you do as a leader and other leaders do is you're there. Like there are times like even I think Saturday, Brooke had texted and was like, I was so glad you came because she needed to be focused running the food distribution. I was able to go put some things on social media and talk to people. And I told her, I said, I literally did not feel like I did anything. But I think it took a weight off her shoulders having someone else there to kind of just talk to the people and do. And that's the other thing with leaders, because if people, if like Sam or Tim or whomever, they're busy doing that part, they can't necessarily be out in the community talking it up or have it, you know, like you as the leader are able to do that. And I think also if you're a good leader and you have wisdom, people can come to you with problems, because for any of us, when we're in the middle of a problem, we can't always see it, and like, you can be the person that can stand back or that can say, well, I've experienced this too. Here's some ideas of how to deal with it. So I think I get what you're saying, but I also think, I think there's such a place and a need for a good leader. And what is it, that thing somebody wrote one time, that like the sign of a good leader is like, if you left tomorrow, your company kept running seamlessly. Do you remember reading that?
Yeah.
And I believe that, because I have seen other things that as soon as the leader leaves, everything crumbles. And that means that the leader was doing everything. They weren't doing what we talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess now is as good a time as any to announce this. I am stepping down as executive director of Project Re3. And effective immediately, Beth is now the executive director of Project Re3. And that way it keeps it running seamlessly with this vision of a leader.
And you get to just retire.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to find something. But
for the record, this is not happening, everybody. This is Mike's, quote, sarcasm. I said when I text or do
you floated the idea of retiring from the podcast last week, and that upset some people.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there was even comments.
But where was my mom? She didn't comment about me retiring.
She didn't care about you.
So she truly does, I think. Just want to hear Mike.
Yeah, but she's heard you for 51 years.
Yeah, she's tired of me. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously people don't want you to retire from the podcast.
Which, like Taryn immediately coming to my defense, then Jerry. I mean, I'm loving my loyal listeners that won't let you like make me feel like I'm not.
I know, I get that. So that's why I'm elevating you now to executive director of Project Re3.
I don't know what that has to do with me retiring from the podcast. These are two very different things. But anyway.
I'm just saying you're the love, Beth.
Yeah.
So this will keep the vision alive at Project Re3.
Yeah.
And I can go.
And you can now become a full hermit. You can just like never be with people again.
I thought I would go back to where I started. I will be
the shoe store?
An usher at the Greensboro Coliseum. That was my first job ever at 15 and a half. And that was the earliest I could ever get a worker's permit. I was an usher at the Greensboro Coliseum. And so I think I'm just going to go full circle and just go back there.
Yeah.
And just seat people.
Okay.
Take them to their seats, stand there and watch the concert, watch the circus, whatever's in town, escapades. And just...
Do people still go to the circus? I used to but anyway. But, and speaking of jobs, both of our kids, Jacob starts work today at his new job, and Maria just started at her new job and had to be there at I don't know, was it 4:45 or 5 in the morning?
Yeah, she had to be there at 4:45 this morning.
Yeah, it's that's painful. She is at Dutch Bros, and she said, so far it's going good and she likes it, but she hasn't had to make the drinks yet because, they have people that they brought in to do that or something.
You have not experienced Dutch Bros yet.
I have not. Not here. Now, I've been to Dutch Bros in California. So, why are you looking at me? Yes, we went through the drive-thru and I got a protein coffee. They have they had the protein coffee before Starbucks did because protein's all the rage. When I ran my half marathon in Disney, we went to Dutch Bros.
Opening day to Dutch Bros. And it was organized chaos.
Yeah.
Every person in Winston-Salem was trying to get into that Dutch Bros.
Yeah.
And I, by the grace of God, was able to get in the parking lot pretty immediately.
Well, so our listeners will know, I was reading on Facebook, people were saying if you know Winston, Stratford Road, I guess cars were backed up blocking an entire lane of Stratford Road and the police couldn't manage it or something. That's what Facebook said. But anyway.
And I believe it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it took me about 30 minutes from the minute I pulled into their little drive-through to when I was pulling out to get my drink that day, because it was so, and because it's not just it has 2 drive-through lanes,
right?
Just like a Chick-fil-A would, because they have so many people. But then they have a walk-up window, and the day I went was gorgeous outside, and so people were parking at shopping centers all around.
Maria said people were crossing Stratford Road.
They were parking at the thruway.
Which, by the way, Winston-Salem is not a pedestrian-friendly, walkable city there. That's what I was just going to say. You're taking your life in your hands.
5 lanes of traffic.
Yes, and a very busy road.
The busiest road
Yes.
Probably in Winston.
Yeah.
And people were parking at Thruway and walking across the street.
It's crazy.
They looked like Frogger.
Yeah.
They were just dodging trucks and cars. And so the line outside, standing, like to go up to a walk-up window, was just as long as the line outside.
Yeah.
But it was delicious. But it was cool because I went opening day and I got to meet some of these people that they flew in.
Which blew my mind. They flew in people not just to open it, but they have such a desire for excellence that they flew in people to make the drinks and stuff this first few days, right? Like Maria's working the window or something.
And, Maria used the term executives.
Yes.
They're flying in executives to do this.
Yeah.
So I thought like the highest level.
Yeah, you're like the vice president of whatever is doing it.
So the girl that came and took my order, she was super friendly. All these people there are so nice and so friendly. Mm-hmm. It's like Chick-fil-A on crack.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A on caffeine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this little girl came up and was taking my order. She was like, "Have you ever been to Dutch Bros before?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been a couple times." And there's one out in Colorado I go to when I'm out there. And I was like, and actually my daughter is going to be working here. I was like, she's coming in this evening. And she's like, "Oh, wow." And she was like, she's going to love it. And then this girl was like, "I've been here 3 years." And she was like, "At the store I'm at, I'm the assistant manager." Mm-hmm. So they flew in, which I thought was kind of cool for Dutch Bros, that they flew in this assistant manager from some store to come in and help. And all that girl was doing was taking orders on her iPad.
Think about like how much that empowers your employees, your team, like if you're young,
and this girl was young. I mean, she looked like she was early 20s.
So let's think about Maria. Like, let's say she was doing this when she's 26 or something. Think about how much confidence that makes you feel like your company has in you. If they're like, we're going to fly, even if you're only taking orders, but like, you do this with excellence here. So we're going to fly you to this other state, to this new place to do this. Like, I don't know. I just think that's really, really cool. And how many places... I mean, I don't know. I guess I haven't been around enough company. I don't know that other companies do that. Just, I don't know. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we didn't get back to the book.
Oh, yeah. More about you.
No, I just didn't want to. I'm writing a book.
Well, you're the one that jumped to Dutch Bros and jobs. I was like, I didn't know we were finished. You changed gears. Your ADHD mind shifted gears so much.
My beautiful mind, the way that it works. I'm sorry.
So I think we have finally figured out the secret sauce, you and I.
Yes.
That there's no sense in reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
For years, I've written sermon series.
Yes.
And it may be anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks,
yeah.
right, for me. And there's been a few times where I'll finish a sermon series, and most of the time there's 6 weekers. Mm-hmm. And is that a word? Yeah. 6 weekers.
We can make up words on this podcast. It's ours.
And I thought, man, this would make a good book one day.
Yeah.
And finally last year, I sat down and turned one of my sermons into a book. And it did really well. Mm-hmm. I did earlier this year in January, I released a second book. Mm-hmm. And now I'm working on my third. But they're all just sermon series that I've done. Mm-hmm. I'm just going back through and expanding on the points and that kind of thing. And so you have learned that now with you did it last year with your Wondering Light.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You have been doing an Advent devotion for many years.
2017 or 16.
You finally took that and turned it into book form. Mm-hmm. And now you've taken this women's retreat and made to Flourish.
Yes.
And you're working on turning that into a devotion.
Yes.
So you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just taking
the concepts and the ideas.
And the teaching and illustrations and putting it down. You sent me the first 8
days.
How many days is this going to be anyway?
30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you sent me the first 8 days.
Because I think that seems to be 30 days. I mean, most devotionals are probably 30 days. I don't know.
Yeah. And so I read the first. I did read them.
Oh, I didn't know if you did. So I really didn't know if you did. But
I did read them.
Okay.
The thing that jumped out at me when I was reading it was how many times you said I was resentful of my husband. That was in a couple of the illustrations.
No.
You said I was resentful of my husband.
In one. So if anybody wants to know if this book speaks truth about how I was feeling, I didn't hold anything back. Yeah, there was one.
I felt like it was a recurring thing.
It was not. It was one time. Anyway, keep going.
So that proves I read it.
Yeah, I'm glad that's what stuck. I'm glad that's what stuck with you. But anyway.
Yeah, so now this new book you're starting to work on. You've got the first 8 out of 30 days done.
And that's what you're going to leave the reader with. If you read this, you're going to get that Beth's resentful of her husband.
Again, it's a teaser. It's what I'm trying to teach you.
This is not a good teaser.
Why was Beth resentful of me? What happened in life that made her resent me?
Is she still resentful?
More than usual.
Yes.
I mean, is it the fact that, that I'm going to be performing in Stokes County before she will?
That is true.
Is
that
it
is
the fact
part,
that within 6 days, I'm going to be standing on the stage of
her
the legendary Palmetto Theater, which most people are calling the Grand Ole Opry of Stokes County.
That's what I've heard.
And I'm going to be standing on that stage, entertaining the masses, and you weren't. I could see why you're resentful of that.
Yes, yeah. And Taylor Vaden is like the Johnny Cash / Dolly Parton / whomever else has been like the Grand Ole Opry.
He's the Elvis.
He is the Elvis. He is. You're right. He's
the Elvis of the Grand Ole Opry, which he's the Elvis of the Palmetto Theater.
Yeah.
And
now
I'm
will be
the Bob Hope of the theater.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
I have to go really old here.
People, young listeners are like, all right, old heads, and they're people. Who's Bob Hope?
That will be, nobody under 50 knows who that is. Yeah. But I think my crowd, the average age, if I had to guess this coming Saturday, might be 60.
Yeah.
But I may be wrong, but who knows? But so I think I'm a Bob Hope, I'm a George Burns,
Yeah.
That's just me right now. And so to these folks, but I can see why you're resentful.
Now back to the book a minute, because we just are.
What else is there to say? You're writing a book.
I was just going to add one thing. So at the end of yesterday, Melissa, who does a lot of coloring books and is very talented,
she creates them. She don't just color in coloring books.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, she doesn't just color
She's
in the
an
lines.
expert colorer.
Yes, she's like, and she doesn't even need numbers when she colors. No, but she designs coloring books, and her art is so fun and whimsical. Just an aside, I never will forget, I was at Salem doing one of my board meetings, and I walked into the office of one of the people there, and I look, and I see this painting of like a giraffe, and I was like, is that Melissa Edwards? And the person was like, yes. And I was like, I know her. Anyway, it was just this totally random thing. This person had bought Melissa's art. So anyway, it's just kind of neat when you see something like that. But Melissa was like, I could do some coloring pages and stuff. She didn't know I was writing a book. And I said, well, it's interesting you say that, because I said, I'm working on a book, but I thought about doing a workbook. And so I think this may end up being a book with a workbook / study guide, and Melissa will help me do art and coloring and things. It'll be a very interactive thing. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there too. So that's another way. Again, it's just something fun.
Then you got to get into sharing the profits of your book with her. I mean, that gets into a whole
time out. Now, should we consider sharing the losses? Because once I did taxes, I don't know that we had any profits from our book. And if you consider the hours and labor of love that it was, we probably are so in the hole. It's like if you were like, what's your hourly rate? Well, why don't I just say that I pay all of you to read my book? That's what it feels like.
Our books, I'm going to advertise this today because I have never advertised this, and I really need to. Our books are on Kindle Unlimited.
Oh.
So if you are a Kindle Unlimited subscriber,
you can get it free.
You can go read it for free.
Yes.
I have someone for the very first time read Equipped.
Really? On the Kindle Unlimited?
They read the entire book.
Uh-huh.
And the way Kindle Unlimited works, to pull the curtain back a little bit for authors, is you get paid per page.
Okay, the only reason I know that is, those Comic-Cons we go to? There was a guy there that had written a bunch of books, and he's one of those that dives in deep. Like, let's say there's some weird thing and he does the fan fiction or something. But he told me that he said, because I was asking him, this is long before I ever wrote. I just didn't know how Kindle Unlimited worked. And he's like, well, I just want people to read and keep reading because I get paid per page. And I was like, oh, okay.
So you may be asking yourself, how much money did I make?
Oh, I bet it is a lot.
This just happened, like literally just in the last 3 or 4 days. I had one person read Equipped.
And this is how you'll know exactly what you get paid per person.
On Kindle Unlimited.
Right.
If you read Equipped on Kindle Unlimited, you will be contributing to me.
Yes.
21 cents. I made 21 cents off that person reading my book.
Okay, I think they can still choose to buy our book. So, like, if you feel sorry for us, please also no. And
I think that's why I've been reading online. There's people who pump out 30 books a year.
Yeah.
They use AI, to help. But so it's not.
Which means it sounds like a robot talking.
Right. But they just pump them out there so that people, and they offer them on Kindle Unlimited.
Right.
They don't even care about selling any because they want their pages read. And they'll make literally 4 figures a month off of people just reading these pages of these books.
Which blows my mind. And one reason, though, I guess, that makes a little more sense, too, because, and I don't mean this but in a mean way, but like I'll look sometimes, because I have Kindle Unlimited, and I wasn't going to get it and keep it, but with book clubs and stuff, a lot of times our book club books end up on there. Now, they always sell them for a while, and then they end up there. But when I've looked at Kindle Unlimited, too, sometimes I'll see, like, a cookbook. And I was like, who's getting a cookbook on Kindle? Because now, I mean, I don't know how many people use – I think some people might use cookbooks because they have their old favorite recipe and they probably use a physical book. Yeah. But I don't know that most people are in the kitchen with their Kindle or iPad, like, opening a cookbook. If I have my Kindle or iPad, I have a recipe I found on recipe.com or something. And it made me wonder, like, who's looking at this? But that makes sense because if you're getting paid per page, somebody's just flipping through, like looking for, or, they get the recipe book for free.
Yeah.
They're all there in one place,
And you don't have the stupid pop-ups like you would have.
Yes, when you do the other things.
That's one of my most aggravating things.
Yes, I hate
I'll find a recipe and you've got to scroll for 5 minutes to get to the
You have to scroll past the picture of like, this is the bowl of flour. Yeah. Oh, now let's have an artistic picture of our butter. Yeah. And, I'm just like, I don't care. Yeah. Yes. Anyway.
So at least, cookbooks on Kindle Unlimited, you can get straight to what you want.
So maybe I'm going to do how ironic would that? I was just sitting here like, I should do a cookbook on Kindle.
Just go to chat and be like, hey write
help me with my recipes.
Yeah, give me 40 recipes.
High protein recipes.
You can make with chicken and rice.
Yeah. And meanwhile, a data center is destroying the environment so that I can make 21 cents per page on who reads my, my recipe or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's no, it's not even 21 cents per page. That's less than 1 cent per page.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, oh my gosh. Like, I can't even comprehend. Like, that's, I mean, I guess if you're like Stephen King or J.K. Rowling or something, but like.
I mean, Equipped is a short book.
Yeah.
And
it's more than 21 pages.
Yeah, it's like 75 pages to read it online on Kindle. And so.
A third of a cent or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's 21 cents.
It's like, forget the penny.
Pages.
Yeah, we've gotten rid of the penny. We're going to go lower than the penny. Read 4 pages. That's what we should do too. We'll let you read the first 4 pages for 1 penny.
I just need to find one of these data farm, phone farm things and in another part of the world that you see that just has people reading. They're not reading it. It's just all these phones and tablets that are just scrolling through it, page after page after page.
And for people who don't know what we're talking about, that's one of the big things people pay for YouTube videos, because once you become or Instagram, to become an influencer, you have to have so many followers and have people actually engaging with your content. And so sometimes when you see something that has 1 million views and you think, wow, that's really high quality, it may be, I've seen a picture or two. I remember the first time I saw an article on it and being like, what in the world? And it showed one guy and it's it looks like it's like that. Like you're on Scooby-Doo and somebody's back there doing surveillance with TVs or phones, instead of TVs all across the wall. And they're all just I guess, watching content over and over again to rack up those views.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy because, like, you can't trust anything, just like you can't trust. I remember listening to a podcast, like, about Amazon, Walmart, Target reviews, because that's like sometimes when you get some package in the mail that's not yours, they'll send it so that somebody else can write a fake review. And anyway, it's just such a hard world to be in. But it's tough being an author. We truly are writing. So then it's like, well, why do you do this? I don't know about you, but for me, part of it was we had a goal. But like with this, I was like, I hope somebody reads it and likes it and gets something out of it. You know, I mean, I do hope that. And the extra, now that I know I might make 25 cents, that is a game changer.
Well, and like you said, obviously we make more if people buy the book on Kindle, buy the book in paperback. But Kindle Unlimited, like I said, the goal is to get thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people reading this book, at least flipping through the pages, looking it over, and you just rack up those reads.
I'm just wondering what I can buy for 25 cents. You know, you used to be able to make a phone call with that, but like you can't even get a stamp with that. Y'all told me how expensive stamps were a few months ago or whatever. That blew my mind.
Yeah, you can't even get a stamp with that.
Yeah, I mean, what can I do with? I can't get gum. No. Could I maybe get one piece of gum? Oh, you know when you go to the restaurants and they have those little chiclets or whatever, those little packs. Maybe you can get one little thing with the 4 squares of gum.
I don't know. On some of the gambling sites, FanDuel, DraftKings, the minimum gamble, they have 10-cent contest. So you could take that 10, take your 20
winnings,
cents, split it into 2 10-cent
and see
gambling odds and see if you can win and double or triple, quadruple your money, and
then
just
maybe
keep building.
You could get to 40 cents,
and then keep...
So that's what we'll bank on. So y'all, this is an investment in Mike's gambling addiction.
Yeah, there we go.
It's 10 cents that will become 50 cents one day if we're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're almost at an hour now, so it's about time to wrap it up. But and maybe we'll retouch on this coming up here in maybe next week. I don't know. We might have time toward this week. But there's a word that Christians, and I'm going to use that term very loosely in this because who knows if they are. There's a modern term that I'm seeing more and more as I'm reading about. It really starts with millennials, and it's not Gen X, but it's millennials, Gen Zers that were raised in the church, raised as Christians, are using this word, and I hate it. And I hate it because every time I read someone say they're going through this and then they explain, I'm just like, you're just mad because you didn't get your way. You know, deconstructing my faith.
Oh, I knew you were going to say deconstructing.
Deconstructing my faith.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. That's a really big thing now. I feel like it's like the fad. I feel like just like we have fad diets. Like right now, there was low carb, then there's high protein, then there's keto, which is kind of high protein. But anyway, the carnivore diet. I feel like we have in these Christian circles, we have these words for these movements. And I feel like deconstruction of your faith is one. But everybody I've seen a lot of people of our generation that are like authors and things using it too, the terminology.
It's just so stupid.
No, you're going to alienate a bunch. I don't know. I don't understand enough about the concept not that I don't, but like, I don't know is it like questioning your faith? Is it breaking it down and taking what you learned and deciding what parts of what you grew up with you believe and don't believe? Like, what is
That's it? It's from what I'm reading. And this is why I'm saying it's the millennials. And maybe this is why it's such a trigger for me. Because I envision our youth group back at Shady Grove.
Yeah.
And we had a huge youth group.
Yeah.
We had an awesome youth group.
Yes, we did.
And now, almost 30 years, one of the top 2 or 3 highlights of my ministry life was getting to be a youth pastor to a bunch of those kids in youth ministry.
And it's fun to run into them and have them, see what happened.
But it would be like some of those kids now. I got to deconstruct my faith because my parents made me go to youth group. We had to sing these Christian songs, and we were told that unless we believe in Jesus, we're going to hell. Like, it was just like stuff. You know what I mean? It's like they're at a point now in life where it doesn't sound like any of them is even in church. Mm-hmm. And this is a way for them to not feel guilt, mm-hmm. that to, even to their parents, like, why aren't y'all going to church? Well, I'm deconstructing my faith. I'm having to unlearn what you forced me to learn so I can figure it out on my own.
Yeah. Because I get one that triggers you. Because I was going to say, I've read it in the context. I can see some people, because some people are brought up in churches that are almost like cults, like you see. And so when I see it in that context, I don't know that I would have come up with a word like deconstructing. I think I would have been like, I'm deprogramming, or I'm just choosing a different way. I don't know that would have been. So in that context, I see it. But in the context you're talking about, it's kind of like, are you going to deconstruct your kids making you go to T-ball because now, they made you do sports and you hate sports? I see what you're saying, though. It's like if you take it for the people who weren't in like a cult or something, your faith, I feel like parents taking your kids to church is just like, not just like it, I'm sorry. Because but I'm just saying, like, you could be a parent that made your kids go to the theater all the time, or a parent, like things like that it, so I don't know. I can see like if it's like,
and that's the thing, like when
extreme situations. Why do you?
And I'm seeing this more and more on Threads. Uh-huh. Like Threads.
Well, that's
me,
probably part of your problem.
It is.
That you're on Threads.
I think Threads is. Yeah. I think it's weird. I think Gen Xers and maybe what is Josh, like Alpha?
Yeah, maybe, I don't remember.
It's really weird. It's like on Twitter. Or X.
Whatever you call that one. Yeah.
There seems to be a certain age group.
Yeah.
And I would say most are probably Gen Xers. But on Threads, which is where I've been hanging out a lot lately with the young kids, it's like the millennials.
You and Josh.
The millennials. And these millennials, so I see this whole deconstructing thing a lot because
that's in your algorithm.
It's in my algorithm. Mm-hmm. It's in my Christian feeds type stuff. And so I see
if it triggers you, you need to start getting that out of your algorithm.
Oh, I get out of it. But I push back.
Yeah.
Like I'll say things.
Yeah.
And
oh no, I don't, what is
but
it
I'm not
about
saying mean things.
No,
I'm just like, all right, so what about this?
Yeah.
And 99% of the time they don't even comment,
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it's like, you want attention, mm-hmm. It's like, that's all it is. It's like, all right, if you feel like your church was such a cult that you need to deconstruct your mm-hmm. faith, then go deconstruct and shut up. Like, I don't need to hear this. Like, it's just like
post about it a lot on Threads
like,
or
that
whatever.
is saying, look at me.
Yeah.
There's and I've made this very public, I'm a huge Reddit fan.
Yeah.
And one of my Reddits that I follow is called I'm the Main Character. Uh-huh. And it's videos of incidents where people make themselves the main character.
Uh-huh. Never heard of these things. See, I follow Reddit for like, I have to travel, what's the TSA wait times? You're on Reddit for like something that I'm like, I would have never known that was even a group, but yeah.
And so that's what Threads is a lot. Is people like, look at me, I'm going to be the main character.
So Threads is like, I'm the main character. That's their whole like vibe, I guess you would say.
But it's just, we've been in church so long now. Not just our entire lives, but definitely deep in ministry.
Right, yeah.
I could count how many churches have we come across? Thousands?
Yeah.
When you think about all the youth mission trips, all the youth gatherings, all the conferences, mm-hmm. tens of thousands of churches we've come across.
Yeah.
I could probably count on one hand, if not just a few fingers, how many of those churches were probably cult-like, you know? But you read something like Threads, you would think every church
is that way. Yeah.
Because it's all of a sudden, I don't want to go to church. I don't like this. So I am deconstructing my faith. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you didn't even have any faith. Like, you just didn't. Like, you haven't grown. this is an easy way for you to say, I'm not going to church because my parents made me.
I'm going to have to go read more about it because, like I said, I see the terminology, I see the people that use it, I see the context, but I don't that's not something I've ever dived into or read enough to be fully articulate in what I'm even saying about it,
It's a trigger for me.
I can tell. I was like, yes. Well, and I think also I get what you're saying, though, because you've spent your life and your career, that this is, and so I think that's the other hard thing when people like say things about Christians or certain faith and stuff. I mean, because I get triggered like that sometimes too, not just with this deconstruction, but with some things people say. And I'm like, we're all not like this. Like for me, the trigger is, yours is deconstruction. My trigger is anytime a church is on a news article because like somebody's embezzled or they're not helping somebody or they've kicked a nonprofit. Now that makes me mad that they've done it. But then if you see in the comments, well, that's what all churches do, or no churches give anything, or all the churches just have rich pastors. And I want to be like, let me send you our budget and you can see how, quote, rich our pastors are at our church. And why don't you look at how much we give away? I think it's hard because you feel like it's an attack on your identity. And like we were just saying, we know there are bad churches out there that would cause somebody, I mean, whatever you call it, to feel like that. But then there are a lot of places that, again, it's just like so many other things. Anything that is run by a lot of people, whether that's sports, theater, anything that's got a lot of people, you're going to have people that are a problem. But that doesn't mean that everybody that does it, should be vilified,
Yeah.
And I think that's what is so hard about it. And I feel like that happens so much with the church. And I was trying to think of other organizations because it's not going to be because I know people, but like Girl Scouts or something. Are there bad troop leaders and are there bad things in that corporation that happen? Yes. But how many people have very fond memories of the growth they experienced in Girl Scouts? And it just seems so unfair, like 5 or 10% of something has like totally, if everybody did that, that's what they do at the church, I feel like, is like, you've got a bunch of churches out there. Are they perfect? And do they make mistakes? Of course, but like that are trying so hard to do the right thing and help people and invest in the community. And then you got a few that mess up, or people who, I mean, we've even seen this. You get the people who come and they just get their panties in a wad about something silly, and like, it's like then they hate you, they hate that church, they hate the church. And again, there are legitimate hurts that people have, very legitimate from the church. I mean, I get that. But like, there's also I think sometimes people's expectations are just so, I don't know what they expect of these things.
And even if you link it to emotional trauma, right? Emotional, mental trauma I was in a quote unquote bad church. Meaning maybe somebody in the church was mean to you, or y'all had a falling out,
right?
Or the pastor was overbearing, or any of these things,
or very legalistic or something.
The amount of people that refuse to go back to a church because of that
any church
is astronomical. But you can't tell me that is as traumatizing as going through a marital divorce.
Right.
And how many people get remarried?
Right.
Because if you apply the same emotional logic, nobody would get remarried. Because you'd be like, I'm not going through that hurt again,
It's kind of like I'll just say a woman, it could be a man on the other side, but, or let's just say a man, a man who has been like their wife cheated on them and treated them terribly and yelled at them all the time. And then they're like, all women are horrible, like this is why all women, should never marry because all women are terrible.
Right.
It's like that clumping everybody in based on,
right.
Which is its own form of like discrimination. And
I'm not one of those Bible thumpers that's going to say, don't get a divorce.
Right.
I think divorce is needed a lot of times. I think people get divorced over stupid reasons.
Yeah, but we've seen a lot of divorces that needed to happen.
Absolutely.
Yes,
that is healthier for both parties to just break up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've seen those same people remarry. And their life is flourishing.
And they thrive.
And they thrive. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to tell these deconstructors is
don't give up
you were
because
in a
of one
bad
experience.
marriage. Like, okay, let's hypothetically, you were in a bad marriage of a church.
Yeah.
All right. You've divorced yourself.
From that church, maybe that denomination,
go
whatever.
Date, find another church.
Yeah.
Because your life may thrive. You may come alive. And it's not you're deconstructing your faith. It's that, you know what? I chose a bad apple, you know, or I was immature and I made stupid decisions.
Maybe that's it too. That's probably part of the trigger for you. It's like the concept is they're saying they're deconstructed their faith, but it's not necessarily their faith that's the problem. They're deconstructing an idea of something that was taught to them about faith or about God.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, because they
But
maybe
I'm saying it could even be right, though, for some of them. Like they were taught the right thing, but now as adults, they don't want to follow that.
Right. Yeah.
It was easy to follow that when they were 15, 16.
Right. Yeah.
But now you want to apply that when they're 36.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't really want to follow that. Like, it doesn't fit my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean,
But that's another interesting thing just about the internet, because I'm kind of like you. I'm like, then, you know, you go to therapy, you don't go to church, you talk to your friends. I just think it's interesting, too, the things we choose to put out there for the whole world. Yeah. Kind of like you said. I think that's the other thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, you know.
And the other thing, and I've talked about this a little bit, I think, on here. We'll just stay on the social media train. Instagram.
Yeah.
There's some sites I follow on Instagram that I love. One is Pastors with Props. And it's pastors that use all these stupid props. And every single time, I just, like, they'll be standing there doing a sermon in a raincoat. Or they'll have, I mean, it's just a handful of M&Ms. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just the most idiotic thing. And every single time I comment, these are pastors that were children and youth pastors that are now lead pastors that have never grown, that are using the same illustration they used in children's church.
Yeah.
Now with these adults.
Yeah.
Now I say it in a much shorter way because that's longer, but that's basically what I say. And those likes blow up. They're like, that is exactly what it is. And it drives me crazy.
Because you're right. That is what you do, some of that stuff in youth ministry and children's ministry, because you got to get the concept.
And you get the people on there that'll be like, well, Jesus used parables or whatever and a mustard seed or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but they didn't have... Like this, he was teaching a brand new concept that had never been taught before in the history of mankind to uneducated people and trying to speak their language.
Right.
Like he was speaking to farmers when he held the mustard seed.
Not people who've like been in church their whole life and they're like, I need to put on a raincoat so you understand this.
Exactly. But yet, literally, there was one the other day the dude was wearing a raincoat and was talking about, it was just idiotic.
Maybe those people are why people think they have to deconstruct their faith. They're going to that and they're like, what is happening?
And I think there has to be a happy medium because you also you see this in older pastors, the lecture style.
Yeah.
But it's like the pendulum has swung so far. It's like, oh, we can't lecture. I'm just going to reuse this children's ministry sermon that I used when I was fresh out of college to a bunch of kindergartners. Yeah. Now it's 15 years later, I'm the lead pastor, and all these kindergartners are now 20-somethings. So I'm going to use the same illustration, and they're going to eat it up. And they do.
Or the ones that are like a show, because like Maria's friend Jackie sent her something, like it was Texas, I think. And it was like, I don't know, somebody was like, a pastor was like swinging through the air.
That was like
on
the Christmas
something.
thing.
Yeah, and I was just like,
it's like Christmas under the big top or something stupid.
It was
and don't even get me started on those mega churches. But I mean, but I'm just saying these pastors with props. Well, the other one I like is worship fails.
Oh,
and it's
you showed me. I can't watch. So this is the difference in you and me. You and Maria will look at that and y'all will just laugh. I just look and I cringe. Like I can't watch it. Anyway.
Yesterday morning, I pulled up. I was on the gram, and the newest worship fail popped up, and it was some poor guy leading worship at his church, and you could tell it was a small church. Yeah, they were in just a kind of generic building, and he's playing his guitar and he's singing, and he's already off key a little bit, but it's not bad. Well, then he tries to hit this high note, and it's just like a 15-year-old boy going through puberty. It's like, ah! And he just keeps going, and I'm just like, what I typed was this, and now cue the make a joyful noise to the Lord folk or whatever people. Somebody immediately commented to me and gave me the passage out of Psalm 101 where it says, make a joyful noise to the Lord. Like, but they meant it like it's in there.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, that is so not what that scripture meant.
Yeah.
But Christians will use that like, oh, make a joyful noise. No, like that's not his talent.
Yeah.
He was an okay guitar player.
Yeah.
He was not even okay. He wasn't even average singer.
It'd be like me singing.
And it's like,
which I don't.
That's when you got to use somebody.
I mean, I sing in the congregation, but I'm not going to be singing in front of the church.
Because you're not doing him or that church any favors.
Yeah.
Because now nobody's going to be like into worship. They're going to be like snickering or just rolling their eyes or whatever. And it's not giving this guy like, it was just.
Also, I would be really upset with my congregation with whoever put that up. Oh, that would be.
I don't even know how these worship fails are, how they find it.
How I know, because like that, I mean, that's like, that'll be the bottom if you ever hit that. Like if you end up on worship fails.
That's one. A pastor fell off the stage.
That's the one you showed me that's when I just couldn't. I was like,
and I feel bad for the guy. But the comment I made was he fell and was on the ground and nobody from the front row even moved to help him up.
See, that's the thing.
And so I commented, I was like, and no one from the front row moved. Yeah. And it's gotten hundreds, if not near 1,000 likes where people in their comments, like, you're exactly right. Yeah. But it's like, that's the kind of like, he fell, that sucked. But what was funny about this is people just sat there and watched him on the ground.
Yeah,
like,
and then somebody kept videoing.
And they kept videoing.
And this is not, I've seen people criticize, like, true journalists who keep videoing something in a dangerous or bad situation. And people are like, why did they do that? And they're like, well, people need to know what's happening. And there's some kind of thing about, like, can journalists interfere with what's happening? But, like, this is like me doing the children's program and somebody falls and I just keep videoing instead of like helping a kid. You know?
You zoom in on the kid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, look at that kid. Yeah, like these people are heartless and not only continuing to video, but then putting it on a site like that.
Anyway. So there you go. If you want to follow me on Instagram and some of my witty comments.
No, I'm afraid though. You know what's going to happen?
Go to Worship Fail.
You're going to get me canceled because people are going to think like you. I'm
not saying anything mean. I am snarky.
Yeah, that's what I
am
mean.
very snarky, and
I'm
I feel
not
like especially
as you.
All right. So the Worship Fails. I try to be, I'm never mean to the people who are failing.
Yeah.
I point out other things.
Yeah, like the people who sit there and watch it or something.
Now, the pastors with props, I will go after with like
because they've consciously chosen to put themselves out there and do that.
They are what make other pastors look bad.
Yeah.
And
you're on a mission.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired of this. Like, quit making us look bad.
Yeah.
Go back to children's ministry.
Yeah.
Like what you just did is a phenomenal children's ministry sermon. It has no place on a Sunday morning where you're trying to
talk to
teach adults how to live out their faith.
Yeah.
In a rough world.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just stupid. But anyway, so those, and then on Threads, I typically just chime in. Much like I did with it was this fabricated line what we talked about last week, which now is up to 21,000 likes. I like to comment on those. And James Mitchell. James Mitchell is a big Threads person, I found out. And I just stalk him, and I will always comment on his comments. And it's always mean stuff.
Oh, gosh.
Like last night, I was dying laughing.
By the way, and somebody's going to think you're a troll. Like somebody like me.
I am a troll to James.
I know, but somebody's going to read this and they're going to be like, this guy's mean. And they're not going to know that this is just you and James. But anyway, yeah.
There was some stupid thing on Threads, and it was like, use your name and use your first name with every letter of your first name and write out your favorite bands that start with that. And so James had his, right?
Oh,
James. And he had like Jethro Tull. I'm trying to remember some of them. M was like Metallica. S was like Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh, yay.
Good he's
James.
using like these,
the best bands.
Grungy
STP.
ones. So I commented under his and was like, it's more like Jefferson Starship. They're the ones who sang that song. We built this city of rock and roll. A, ABBA. M, Madonna.
Yes. He might be my lucky star. James up there singing that.
I can't remember what I put for... Gosh, what did I put for?
And ABBA, is he doing Dancing Queen? Yeah, that's what he sits around and dances to Dancing Queen, and Madonna, like Lucky Star.
Oh, E, I think I put that Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians. That random hit. M was J-A-M.
You said Madonna.
Madonna.
Yeah, it's an S.
Was, God, what was S? I don't know. S was another, but it was all like these. It was just a funny. And so that's what I like to do on Threads. I'm like
glad
making
you make such good use of your time. Meanwhile, I'm over
witty
here.
comments
Uh-huh.
and
Trolling James.
It's Threads. Instagram is snarky comments
Against pastors with props.
Well, that's the worship fails.
Uh-huh.
And then vengeance against
pastors with props. Okay,
so
yeah.
You get to see the four sides of
all
Mike.
The sides of
That's
Mike.
really the four sides of Mike right there. Right? Wit, troll, snark, and vengeance. Those are the four components of my DNA.
You need to change your name so you're not associated with this, because again, I think you're just going to get hate if people go read some of the things against James, and they're going to be like, who is this poor James that this man keeps attacking?
That's right.
Does James ever comment back?
Sometimes.
Yeah, anyway.
He usually attacks me privately with little videos or GIFs of something of Subaru owners.
Oh.
And so you can imagine how that goes.
So that's about all. Okay, that's his arsenal.
About every other day is some type
Subaru.
of Subaru slam on me.
Yeah, that's it. And that's all he's got. Yeah.
Okay,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, real quick, we're going to wrap up with this. I had somebody ask me the other day, they were like, you hadn't talked about your numbers lately as far as who's listening. Mm-hmm. So I just, right at the beginning of the show, was able to pull this up. So this is fresh off. Here we go. We have listeners in 63 countries.
Who are these people?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Listeners in 63 countries.
Oh, by the way, just imagine some little obscure country and they're like, this is what Americans are like. Based on us.
I like to think Borat is somewhere listening to us. And he's like, very nice.
People are like, who's Borat? Again, that ages us, the old heads. Anyway.
Number 1 is the U.S. Number 2 is Canada. Number 3, still hanging in there, Japan.
Yes.
Number 4, Singapore.
Oh, surprising. Okay.
And then we had a tie for 5th between the UK.
Yes.
And Germany.
Nice. Maybe it's all the good things I said about Germany that time and the Autobahn and stuff.
Germans love David Hasselhoff and Germans love Michael Giannopoulos.
That's exactly right. Yes.
But to put it in the scale, North, they break it down also by continents, and North America, which U.S., Canada, 86% of our listeners.
Oh, okay.
So we have a large portion is North America, and it is U.S. and Canada is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're first and second by a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
But and then the rest of the world makes up 14% of our listeners.
Yeah. Antarctica. Do we have any penguins?
Not yet.
Not yet. Or anybody in like one of those stations down there?
Beth,
okay, I know you don't believe Antarctica.
Gosh.
Okay, I'm sorry, we can't talk about that.
We've already gone so long.
You don't believe Antarctica's real or whatever, or it's just an ice wall or something.
That's right.
Okay, I know. I shouldn't have said it. So let's just pretend there's 6 continents, okay, for these purposes. All right. We'll pretend.
Thank you. 6 continents and an ice wall.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I'm not agreeing. I'm just like, for these purposes, we'll say that. Go ahead.
All right. And cities, we have listeners in 651 different cities.
Wow.
So there we go.
That's cool.
Yeah. So word's getting out.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean,
we're an international podcast. For whatever reason.
I wonder if this is somehow like, I don't know, something to do with people's VPN or something, or like it's somebody in one of those little phone factory things that we didn't even pay, and that's why they're showing up.
But you know what's funny? I just thought about this. Germany is 5th on here, or tied for 5th with the UK. We use the same podcast service for our Re3 Church.
Yeah.
We put out our sermons every Sunday or Monday as a podcast that people can listen to on Apple or Spotify, everywhere else. every year, the U.S. is number 1 and Germany's number 2.
Interesting.
And it's number 2, like, by a lot, similar to how Canada is with us. Like,
so it's not our friend Christian, because he's been in America a long time. So I'm like, how are these Germans hearing about us?
So it's weird that, like, so I wonder what,
is it
if there's some bleed over.
Or something?
I just wonder if there's a bleed over between people, like, so whoever in Germany is listening to our church sermons have now started tuning in to the podcast.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, Reed 3 Church is big in Germany.
That's really interesting.
Just like Ross is big in the Philippines.
Yes, yes.
You're big in Canada.
Yeah. Am I?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
Huge in Canada.
Me personally. Yep. Yes.
Yep. You spent so much time there.
Yes, exactly. I have been to Canada. I like Canada. And Canadian Maria, also known as Michelle, is in Canada, our friend from Disney. She's got a large following. Maybe that's it.
It could be.
She has a large Disney following. I never will forget going, and we were there for Epcot, and it was like one of the international things. And so we're going around. It was one of those international festivals, and they had all the different food. And I was like, I go to Canada, and now Canada at Epcot has the maple popcorn. Delicious. But at that event, they had bone broth. So I was like, Michelle, really? This is what y'all came up with for Canada?
You couldn't even have Canadian bacon?
Yeah, it's like bone broth. I was like, that was an Epcot fail on behalf of Canada at that event. I was not buying the bone broth. Anyway.
Well, it shows what I know. I didn't even know Canada was in Epcot.
Oh.
So it's blink and you miss it.
You didn't know Canada was in... That's where you get the maple popcorn.
I've never had the maple popcorn. I haven't. I don't know. I'm just...
Canada's like, I think, let's see, if I'm going, you go right, and it's kind of like on the way to the UK pavilion or what have you.
Rumor has it they're going to be our 51st state.
Oh, no.
That's what I've read on... That's the kind of stuff I see on Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you mean the X or whatever.
Yeah, I don't see that on Threads as much.
There's a reason. I don't even know a login to X. All I remember is one time, this is years ago before it became X, somehow Josh would use my iPad, and Angry Birds and Bad Piggies somehow got attached to my Twitter account. So if you go back to the way old days, it's like, this angry pig or this pig did this, or so. It's like an update of like him playing the game, and it automatically fed to Twitter. I think that's about the extent of my presence on Twitter.
My presence on Twitter is there's sports teams, sporting goods stores, that kind of thing, or whatever, that will post stuff like and repost for a chance to win this signed Chipper Jones jersey.
Yeah.
That's the whole, I get on and I repost those like crazy, or it'll be like tag 2 people. So I tag PW Lawyer Mom,
who has all the Angry Birds and Bad Piggies.
Yes. That my sole
really
purpose
into it.
is to win something on there.
Yeah.
I have won 2 things off of Twitter. And so I feel like, we do get stuff. And so.
It's weird, though, because we did use it when Jacob was looking at colleges. It was a way to get athletes out there, which was really, I wonder if they still do. That's been a few years ago, but that's a strange thing, because I remember being like, I got to try to get on here and repost this so somebody will see it. Again, all my Angry Bird, Bad Piggy followers were going to be really interested in that.
Man, we've gone an hour and 24 minutes.
Oh, don't tell Sam Hinton.
I think Sam's given up listening to us.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have to break this one down and do it in like 3 days worth, people, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for. We're for the entertainment.
And look, you didn't think we were going to have anything to talk about today.
I know, I didn't. I was like, what are we talking about? And you was like, I don't know. You were like, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just wing it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
But that's what the beauty of Hey, Are You Still There? This is legitimate conversations that Beth and I have.
Yes. This is the things that we debate and talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if you're in the area this week, I will be making my big stage debut at the Palmetto Theater.
So in a way, this is a comedy debut opening for something. The other one was like your graduation.
It was a
ceremony.
graduation,
So
right.
And then you had an open mic debut. And so this is your debut, for that.
I mean, I don't know anybody else that graduated from stand-up comedy school and then 1 month later were opening at a 300-seat auditorium.
Well, you're practically the valedictorian, so that has to speak for something. I think I was the valedictorian. Yeah, so that has to speak for something. So, you're gonna get recruited like that.
Yeah,
you're the top of the top.
So 7 o'clock,
comedy school
in the metropolis of Walnut Cove, North Carolina.
Home county birthplace.
County of Beth, Giannopoulos.
Yeah.
7 o'clock at the Palmetto Theater. I will be opening up. I'm doing right now. I got a 13-minute set.
Yeah.
Taylor said to do between 10 to 15 minutes. I've got 13.
So I'll be right there in the sweet spot.
So that way I figure if I run just a little long, I'm all right.
Yeah.
If I go faster, if nobody's laughing, I can just wrap it up.
Yeah. You can be like 2 minutes in. All right. It was great, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Taylor's going to be performing after me. He's a musician, not a comedian, but he'll be doing his concert, and he's also having his new album released that day. So that night will be the first time you can buy physical copies of his brand new album.
Yeah.
So it should be a fun night.
Should be. Yeah.
I guess that's what we'll talk about next week.
Yeah.
Is what happened in my big stage debut.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the Grand Ole Opry of Stokes County.
That's right. Yep. Can't wait.
Opening for the Elvis of Stokes County.
Yes. It's a big night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it's been fun. We've gone way over time, which is okay. It makes up for some of the shorter ones, I guess. Anyway, this is Mike.
And Beth.
And this has been Hey, Are You Still There?